This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, in the last session, we were talking about activities which a FICO consultant will be performing in any project. And we started understanding type of projects, clients, different other activities, and we started understanding until configuration stage, wherein we understood before you do the configuration, you need to make sure business blueprint is prepared and this business blueprint is approved or signed off by the client. Based on the approved business blueprint only, we will be starting to define the configuration in system. Now, when you're defining the configuration in system, what points we will have to keep in our mind and how you are going to proceed with it, let us try to understand. In general, once your blueprint is confirmed or the signed off, you are going to start with the configuration part. To do the configuration, you are dependent on a document called your business blueprint document or solution design document. One and the same, solution design document. And along with this document, you are going to have another document called key data structures. Along with this document, you are going to have one more document called key data structure. And apart from this, there will be one more document called business partner, business process master list. This is nothing but your BPML document, and this is your KDS document. These are nothing but your BBP or SDD. These documentations will have to be prepared, will have to be kept in handy before you start working on the configuration. Meaning, these documentations are going to tell you or providing you an information that what exactly you are going to configure. Meaning, if you take SAP FICO configuration, it's a big configuration list. Meaning, if you go to SPRO path or if you go to look at the T codes which are related to config, based on the requirement, based on the scenario, certain settings you will have to define. Meaning straight away you cannot go and define the configuration. Before you define the configuration, you need to know the requirement, you need to know the business process. Only based on the agreed business process, you are going to define only the selected settings from the SAP. You are not going to define all the settings, you are not going to define all the configurations, because whatever is agreed, whatever is documented, whatever is confirmed in your business blueprint, only those scenarios will have to be set up, only those scenarios will be configured. Now, how do you know that this is to be configured, this is not to be configured? Based on another document called a scope document. There's something called scope, which is your in and out. When I say scope in and out, whatever is in your scope, whatever is out of your scope, meaning certain business processes you agreed to define, certain business processes you have not agreed to define. You are supposed to look at this document and then understand, okay, this process is agreed, this process is not agreed. Accordingly, you need to define the setting. Instead of that, if I say that no, I know SAP FICO, I have learnt all the configurations, I did all the configuration. In your client system, if you're trying to set up all the configurations, then that is a big mistake which we are doing. Always remember, whatever the settings that you are defining is strictly based on the approval that you received on the business blueprint, on the finalized business processes, or on the agreed business processes only. Anything which is not agreed, anything which is not documented, you are not supposed to work on it. And you will be having a clear instructions on these areas from your project lead or from your project manager. Keeping this point aside, as a FICO consultant, meaning as an experienced SAP FICO consultant, you need to know certain basic fundamentals of it. Straight away, you should not get into the system practice, because during your learning, during your practice, during your training, you may be practicing everything. As you are practicing, you may be creating the settings multiple times, but when you are working in a project, in the similar way you are not going to practice, in the similar way you are not going to configure. Things are exactly different. When you are getting trained, when you are learning, when you are practicing, It is only to give you a comfort. It is only to give you a confidence feel that, okay, this is how you are going to work tomorrow. This is only to give you an idea how you will be working in the future project once you become a consultant. But the same thing, if I go and do it as it is in the project, it's not going to work out. Right? Based on this, when you start working on the configuration, you need to make sure on what basis you are defining the config, and the requirement scenarios, whatever you have document, you are going to segregate one by one. Okay, first what I am going to configure. First, you are going to always define baseline configuration. First thing you are going to define is baseline configuration. Once your baseline configuration is completed, you are going to work on another thing called business process configuration. First, you will be working on baseline configuration. Later on, you will be working on business process configuration. When you're talking about baseline config, you need to understand something called organization structure. For any company, there is something called organization structure. We need to understand what is the company's or your client org structure, which is decided, which is discussed at the beginning of your initial project discussion. Accordingly, you would have drafted, this is the org structure that we are going to define. This organization structure will be created at the beginning. All this organization structure setup, initial setup, whatever you are doing is represented as baseline configuration. The same thing we will be representing as enterprise structure, IMG setting, global parameters are all nothing but your baseline configuration in any project. As a FICO consultant, your configuration is the initial configuration, or your configuration is the first configuration in SAP FICO. So whenever you start working on the configuration, make sure you will be defining baseline configuration first. Once baseline configuration is completed, you will be starting to work on business process config. Now here in the business process configuration, you are going to go sub module at your FI, sub module at your CO, meaning you are going to look at GL. What are the agreed business processes in GL? And to meet this business processes in SAP, what configuration is required? Only to that extent you need to define the setting, not all the setting. Similarly, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash accounting, bank accounting, BRS, payment, integration, taxation, all other points based on the agreed business processes, based on the signed off blueprint document, based on the scope document you are going to define. Does not mean that you know SAP FICO, you know the configuration, you practiced all the topics. Is not going to represent that for your client you are going to define everything, because this is a service which is nothing but your consulting service. Consulting service is nothing but whatever the agreed business process you have, only for that agreed business processes your company would have given a quote, meaning we will be defining all these activities for which we are going to charge this much of amount, and only to that extent you are going to do this setup. Tomorrow if your client is telling we want to use this process also, or we want to introduce another business process, your project manager will tell this is a new requirement, this is the additional requirement which is not discussed as part of initial requirement, and this is not documented in blueprint. So anything that you're adding after finalizing the business blueprint is taken up as a additional requirement, because whatever the initial requirement that you took, whatever you have already finalized in the blueprint has got a timeline. Every project will have a timeline, meaning you will be giving a clear cut timeline. Okay, we will start project in the month of February, we will complete the project in the month of November. Now, if you are giving me additional requirement later on, because of this additional requirement, I may not be able to complete the project in the month of November, because this additional requirement may require for me to take additional 15 days of time, additional one month of, and forget about the time, and this will require additional effort. This will require additional effort. For the additional effort, there will be additional charges. You will be telling to your client, we will take up this requirement, but this is a new requirement, additional requirement, which will require maybe 3 weeks of effort. For this 3 week, this will be the cost. If you're okay with it, we will complete or we will do this requirement also, but this cannot be completed in the month of November. This will be completed a month later. So like this, you will be getting the additional requirement. You will be giving the effort estimation to the client. If they agree to it, then you will proceed along with it. If not, they say that okay, if this cannot be done along with it, we will give this requirement later on. They will tell if this cannot be done at this moment, we will give the requirement later on. But you need to make sure you are able to understand all this terminology, you are able to understand all these points slowly. Initially, these points cannot be understood. It will take a little time. Initially, you are not going to understand all these points. It will take a little time. Initially, whatever you get is only confusion. All these points, whatever we are discussing now, everything will lead to a confusion. But these confusions are required at this, so that later on you will have a clear understanding why all these points are required and why you are not supposed to do configuration straightforward. And once you define this configuration, baseline configuration, business process configuration, immediately you have to work on something called configuration document. Immediately you need to work on configuration document. Now, as a FICO consultant, this is your responsibility to prepare the configuration document, meaning whatever the settings that you are defining in your system as a FICO consultant, make sure you document it. How do you document it? You have to make sure all the settings in a sequential order, you will document it. How you are going to prepare the documentation? You have to have a clear understanding of the configuration documentation preparation. Everybody would have seen the material or the configuration material or the other sources, whatever you see in the different Google website. You will be able to see step-by-step configuration along with the screenshot, SPRO, the path, T code, and then they'll put some screenshot. In this similar way, you have to prepare a document called as configuration document. When you prepare this configuration document will be a format. In every company, in every project, there will be a format, and these formats are provided by your project team or your project manager to your project team. You'll have to take that project document related to config, make sure what are all the configurations that you did. You take the step-by-step screenshot, you prepare a document. Here you need to be very clear about how a document is prepared, meaning you need to follow all the formattings, spelling mistake, screenshot you'll have to take correctly. You should know how to take a screenshot also, whether you need to take the full screenshot or your screenshot should contain the system ID, user ID, or the date and the time. Everything you need to include. If anything to be highlighted from the screenshot, you need to take this screenshot, take it into Paint or any other tool, editing tool, highlight the fields that you want to highlight, and then prepare a document. Why you need to prepare the document? Here, as a FICO consultant in any project, you are not fixed consultant, you are not full-time, you are not long-term. As an implementation consultant, you may be part of the project only during the implementation stage. Let's say your project is starting from February, ending in November. Once your project is ending in November, maybe you are part of hypercare support for one more month. Until December, you are working for the client. After December, you will be released from the project, or you will be working on some other project, or in between, you will resign from the job, you will join another company. In place of you, another consultant for FICO will take over. Meaning, so far I am the SAP FICO consultant, but I quit my job or something happened or the project is over. I am released from the project. Now in my place, you joined as a FICO consultant. Now, when you join as a FICO consultant, you will not define all the settings once again. System is already set up, but whatever is set up, you need to understand. Here, your own understanding is not going to work out. Your own understanding is only going to help understand existing business process, existing system, how it is set up by the previous project team member. Okay, how you are going to enter this system, how you will understand what settings are maintained. There are hundred of settings. How do you understand which setting is maintained, which setting is not maintained, why this setting is maintained? You cannot understand. For that, what you are going to do, you are going to depend on the documentation prepared by the existing consultant or previous team. If I was the previous consultant, if I am the existing consultant, I need to make sure all the documentation I have prepared, whatever I worked so far, let it be anything. If it is configuration, I would have prepared a detailed configuration document, and along with the configuration document, this preceding document, blueprint document, scope document, key data structure document, BPML document must be available. When you refer this documentation, you are going to have an idea, okay, this is the requirement. Based on this requirement, this is how the system is set up. Now what I need to do? That is where you start understanding the client business process, what they are doing on a daily basis, what kind of issues they are getting. All these things you will be able to understand only when you see the current system setup. To see the current system setup, to understand the current system setup, you are dependent on documentation. And all this documentation is the responsibility of a FICO consultant who is working currently in the project. Remember, along with the configuration, you are responsible for preparing the various documentation. Once configuration document is prepared, you need to make sure there is something called TR movement. Along with this one, you need to understand something called TR movement. When you're talking about TR movement, you need to understand what is TR, what is this TR movement. Here, before you understand this, you need to understand something called system landscape. Before you understand the TR movement, you need to understand something called system landscape. In any SAP system that you see for any client, there is majoritarily 3-tier or 3-level system landscape. You must have heard something called development system. You will have development system, and you will have quality system, and you will have production system. Basically, this is the system landscape: development, quality, production. Now you need to understand which activity is performed in which system by a consultant. Now when you're talking about configuration, you are going to define the configuration in the development system. Now within the development, you will be having different client. In development, majoritarily or usually, you will have 3 clients. Okay, in the development system, you are going to have 3 clients. In these 3 clients, whatever you are going to do, whatever you are going to understand, make sure you have a clear idea, at least the basic understanding at the beginning to proceed with. In the development system, assuming that you have 3 systems, 3 servers. Now what are those 3 servers which you are going to have in development, and in which server, in which client you are going to work in development? As a FICO consultant, you are represented as functional consultant. As a functional consultant, you are going to work on 2 systems. You are going to work on 2 systems. One is your development configuration system, other one is development testing system. Understand what is development config, understand what is development testing. Now you have prepared a configuration initially, assuming in development you have client 100 and you also have client 120, just an imagination figure. And these client numbers, this system landscape is something which is created by SAP basis consultant. SAP basis consultant is nothing but system administration related activity. All the administration related activities in the system are taken care by the basis consultant. This basis consultant will tell you what are all the system landscape that is created, what is the client number. Assuming in development 100, majoritarily all your configurations are prepared in development 100 client. Once your configuration is completed, you have to do a testing, because you did configuration based on the business process understanding. Now according to your understanding whether system is working fine or not, you need to test it. How you are going to test if it is working fine or not? You need to do a test. What you are going to test? You are going to test some scenarios. How you will get the scenarios? Based on the test cases. How you will get a test cases? Based on the test script. How you will get a test script? Based on the initial business process discussion. Meaning everything is interconnected here. Straight away you cannot come and understand this point I understood, this point I understood, because everything is interconnected, everything is interlinked. Right from the point number 1 until the last point, you need to have at least a sufficient understanding, flow understanding initially. Later on, having a clarity and all will come later on as you progress, as you attend the different sessions. Based on your practice, slowly you are going to develop the understanding to have clarity. But initially, you need to make sure, okay, this is not the way directly we will do in any project. Every project will have certain guidelines, rules and regulations which are to be followed by any FICO consultant strictly, irrespective of the company, irrespective of the client, irrespective of the project, because that is what your consulting skill. That is why you are called as a consultant. That is why you are globally valid, because everywhere you are going to follow the same consulting skill set. It is not that like an end user job, if you work in one company, in the other company it is different. As a consultant, your consulting skills are same, but depending on the requirement, depending on the project, depending on the country, depending on the client requirement, you are dynamically changing, you are dynamically understanding, you are able to provide your solution. You cannot say, no, this is how I will do it. No, based on the business requirement, based on the client requirement, make sure you will be able to provide the appropriate or relevant. For that, no other go, slowly you have to start understand points in such a way that they are used in a project. And once you do it, the configuration, you need to do a testing. For this, you need to understand the system landscape, development, quality, production. Your configuration will happen in the development 100 system. Your testing is going to happen in development 120 system. In the development, whatever the testing that you are going to perform is represented as unit testing. This is represented as unit testing, called as UT. When you're talking about unit testing or UT, this is the testing performed by a FICO consultant. This unit testing is performed by a FICO consultant, meaning as a FICO consultant, you must know how to test the system. Now, why we need to test the system? Because you are the one who understood the requirement, you are the one who configured the system, you are the one who is supposed to test the system. If I did setting, I should know what settings I did and how it is supposed to work based on my setting. If I do my settings, if I ask you to do the testing, you do not know how you need to test, what you need to test, because you are not aware what I configured. And I do not know whether you are testing it correctly or not. To overcome this point, what we will do, you need to have a clear document. If I am testing it, it is fine. If I am configuring your testing, there should be a clear understanding what you are supposed to test. For all that thing, you will have something called test scripts or test cases. You are going to have something called a test script, or you are going to have something called a test cases. These test script, these test cases are the business process activities or end user activities which are executed by your client users on a daily basis. Majoritarily, these are related to master data, transaction data, and then reports. Your test scripts are related to master, transaction, report. When it comes to master, you will have three activities here. You will be having something called create the master. You will be having change the master. You will be having display the master. These are ideally required. And apart from this, you have something called block, delete and all will be there. Everything is a separate test case, meaning to create an account, to create a master data, it is a separate test case. To change the existing master data, another test case. To display the existing master data, another test case. Similarly, when it comes to transaction data, others please be on mute. Similarly, when it comes to transaction data, same thing. Okay, creating is one test script, changing is another test script, displaying is another test script. Make sure you are able to create, you are able to change, you are able to display. These are the common activities in anything, master and a transaction. Apart from this, you may be having deletion and all, that I am not including it at this moment. Similarly, report. What kind of reports you are going to generate on a daily basis? and how the report is coming, what report value or what report output is expected, whether the report output is coming correctly or not, we are going to understand. And when you understand at these points, you are going to have a clear clarity what needs to be tested. Otherwise, you do not know what to test, you do not know how to test, what is the test case, what is the expected result, what is the actual result, whether the result is okay or not okay, if there are any issues, if there are any problems during your testing, how you are going to resolve it, if you are finding any problem, how you will resolve it, if you do a configuration, how you will bring this configuration again to here, meaning you are doing the configuration in one system, you are testing in the other system, meaning configuration is performed in development 100, testing is performed in development 120. Development 100 is a different system, development 120 is a different system. Now how your configuration will come from development 100 to development 120, that is where you are going to talk about something called TR movement. When you're talking about TR movement, how TRs are moved from one system to another system. Here you have something called TR movement from development 100 to development 120. TR movement from development 100 to development 120. This is within development. This is within development. Within development, you are going to call it as client copy. Within development, you are going to represent as client copy. To do this client copy, you are going to use some transaction code like SCC1. When you use SCC1 transaction, you will be able to move all the configuration settings whatever you did in development 100 to development 120, meaning though you have two different system, though you have two different landscape, development 100, development 120, configuration you will be working or you will be making a single time. You are not going to repeat the configuration separately in development, separately in quality, separately in production. Configuration is done one time and it is copied from one client to the other client based on the TR movement or based on the transport request movement. Here you are going to have two type of transport request. One is your customization. You will have customization request. You will also have workbench request. You will have customization request. You will have a workbench request. When you're talking about TR movement, when you're talking about TR movement, you are talking about either a change request, which means your customization request, or a technical request, which is nothing but workbench request. Meaning, whenever you're talking about any configuration, at the time of saving any configuration, you will get a prompt, you will get a pop-up screen wherein you have to put a description under which TR number you want to save this setting or save this as config. That is where you are going to differentiate between customization request and workbench request. Once you have all these things, you need to make a note that how TRs are moved from one system to another system. That is where you are going to understand if it is within the client, within development client between 100 and 120, you are going to do a client copy with SSC1. After that, you are going to do another testing. After development unit testing, there will be another testing called user acceptance testing. There is another testing called user acceptance testing. This is nothing but UAT. This is nothing but UAT, and this user acceptance test is performed in quality system. This UAT or user acceptance test is performed in quality system. Now so far what we were doing the testing called development, your unit testing, and this was performed by you as a FICO consultant. Once your development unit testing is completed successful, you are going to work on something called quality testing, which is your UAT, unit user acceptance testing. Here you are going to test the system along with your client. Here you are going to test the system along with the client. When you are testing the system along with the client, make sure your client will have the necessary authorization here. Your client is going to have necessary authorization here. When you're talking about authorization, you're talking about roles here. Talking about roles and authorization. Now you need to understand what is role, what is authorization. Here you need to get the user list. Here you'll have to get the user list. Now what are the user list, what is role, what is authorization? Slowly we need to understand one by one. Make sure these points, whatever you're understanding, you're able to relate it to a practical project wherein you are working as a FICO consultant. Because when you're working as an end user, you're all aware that your role and responsibility is limited. If you're working in accounts payable, you may be responsible only for the accounts payable or accounts receivable activity. Similarly, in GL, taxation, bank, cash, or your integration related to taxation, whatever the area that you're working for, only with respect to that you will be having authorization. Other activities you are not going to work, because even if you try to open the other screen as an end user, it will give a message called you are not authorized to open so and so screen. Why users are getting this messages that you are not authorized? Because in any user, the authorization is provided based on the role that he is performing in that particular company. And how we are going to segregate it? Based on the approval metrics, based on the authorization metrics, based on the department wise, division wise, and then the segregation of a duty wise, you will be receiving the information. Now once you get this information, you will have to segregate. Okay, for accounts payable, these are all the roles. For accounts receivable, these are all the role. For GL, this is the role. For taxation, this is the role. For cash, bank, and whatsoever. When you segregate these points, make sure you are going to provide the input to the basis consultant. These roles and authorizations are created by the basis consultant. Basis consultant will be working on these areas with your input. And without your input as a functional FICO consultant, basis consultant cannot move forward. And you are advised, you are supposed to perform the UAT with the user ID only. Because when you are performing the UAT with your user ID, for our user ID as a FICO consultant, you are going to have full authorization. Any screen that you open, you will be able to open it. Any entry that you are trying to post, any report that you are trying to generate, everything will work out properly, because as a consultant, your ID contains master role. Master role, I mean to say, every authorization will be there without any filtration or without any restriction. But when it comes to end user, it is not the same story. End user will have the limited authorization. End user will have the restricted authorization. As a user, if I am responsible for accounts payable, I am not supposed to open accounts receivable related screen. If I am able to open it, my testing is not successful, because I am not supposed to have unauthorized transaction access, which is supposed to be taken care by a FICO consultant, which means we. How you are going to work on these activities, you need to understand. And once you are on the user acceptance testing or UAT, you are going to sit along with the user, along with your client end user. They will be logging into the system. They will be executing the transaction. What transactions are they going to execute? Same transaction which you executed in the development. What we executed in development, we were executing in development something called test cases or test script. Same test cases, same test scripts are executed by end user in the quality system along with you. When they are executing, they are going to execute real business cases. Like today, whatever the transactions that they are posting, the same transaction, they will take some real-time scenarios, the sample cases, they will be posting it in the real system, sorry, in the quality system. While doing it, they will be coming to know, or they will be realizing some issues, some errors, wherein they will say that this is not working, this is not the correct way, it is not supposed to accept this number, in this report output is coming wrong, or while creating the master data it is not accepting, this is giving error. You are going to list out all the points, all the observations, whatever you are getting from the test cases that are executed by the user in the UAT session. If it is something related to a transaction data, authorization data, or configuration data, accordingly you are going to maintain a remark like missing a configuration, authorization missing, or transaction missing. Now if it is working fine, you will say that test case executed, UAT result is fine, approved or confirmed by the respective user. On the other side, if it is having any problem, if it is having any issue, you have to list out why the test case failed, what is the reason for it. If there is if the requirement is not correct, or if there is any other reason, you need to list out. Make sure the appropriate authorization, configuration, whatsoever is completed, and then you are going to provide the respective solution. You will be performing the UAT once again for those cases which did not pass along with the user. Again, you will schedule another UAT session to execute all the failed transactions, all the failed scenarios. Make sure everything is successful. You will get a confirmation from the user. Once your UAT testing is completed, you will find other testing. Within UAT, you will find other testings like system integration testing. You will have regression testing. You will have negative testing. Okay, there are different kind of testings that we will be performing in any project to make sure that it is working fine. There are no issues, there are no problems that you will foresee once you move everything to the production system or everything to the live system. Once everything is done, next thing what you need to do, you need to make sure you will provide training sessions. You will provide the training sessions. When you're talking about training sessions, you're talking about the end users. When you're talking about training sessions, we are talking about end user. In any project, in any company, once your project is successfully completed, once you go live with the project, every day the users will have to log into SAP system. They will have to do their day-to-day activities in SAP. When they are performing their day-to-day activities in SAP, they are not aware how to do the transaction, how to open SAP, how to post the entry, how to create the master, how to pull the report. They may not be aware of it because users are performing the limited authorization, limited transactions. They must know what they are supposed to do, how they are supposed to do. In case if they get any error, how they have to do the basic troubleshooting. All these things you have to provide a training as a consultant in the quality system, meaning you will be conducting a training session either online or offline. If you are at the on-site in the client location, maybe you are all the respective GL module training. User will tell that okay, we have around 20 members or 20 users in GL. The 20 users will join or will come to a conference room or in a meeting room. You will be in the meeting room. You will put your screen to a projector and your screen will be on the projection. You will have to explain them. To post a transaction, this is how you need to post and this is how data is to be given. If you get any basic error, this is how you need to troubleshoot and all you are going to explain. And when you're explaining, the users may be asking you cross questions. When you're explaining, users may be asking the cross question. When you get cross question, make sure you're able to respond, you're able to give solutions, answers to the user on their question. This is very important. Now this is another activity which you are going to perform as a FICO consultant in your project. Now after performing the training session, everything is over. You need to make sure that your TRs movement to production system. Meaning your UAT everything is completed, client has provided the approval or confirmation stating that yes, everything is tested, everything is working fine, training session everything is okay. Now we are fine with moving the solution to the production system. They say that we are fine with the moving solution to the production system. In that case, what you are going to do is you have to give all the TRs whatever you have configured as a FICO consultant. When I say all the TR numbers, whatever you configured as a FICO consultant. What two types of config we've talked about? We talked about two. One is baseline, the other one is business process. Now this baseline configuration TR, business process configuration TR, you need to make a note of it and you need to give all the TRs in a sequence. You need to provide all the TRs in a sequence, meaning which TR is supposed to be moved first, which TR is supposed to be moved second, third and fourth. In a similar way, you need to provide the sequence, and this is very important. You cannot say I don't know which setting is there in which TR. What is the TR sequence? And this is very important for you to understand what is the TR sequencing. As a FICO consultant, if you are working on the configuration, only you can tell what is the sequence. And make sure when you're able to give this a sequence to the basis consultant, you are going to attach various documentation like your test cases, configuration document, UAT document, approval and all you will be assigning, attaching and sending to the basis consultant. Based on all this documentation, basis consultant will move the TRs to production. Once all the TRs are moved to production, you are going to say that, okay, now once these are all done, you are going to perform something called cutover activities. Once TRs are moved to production, you will perform cutover activities. As part of cutover activities, what we will do is, you are going to do the legacy data upload. You are going to work on legacy data upload. Legacy data upload is nothing but, currently you may be working on some other system, maybe Oracle, JD Edwards or anything. From the legacy system, all the balances, whatever you had, all the accounting balances or the masters, whatever you have to bring this data into SAP system, which is nothing but legacy data upload. Here again, you're talking about master transaction. What are all the masters that you have? What are all the transactions that you have? Along with that, there are certain things called open client activities. There are certain things called open client activities. Now these open client activities you need to perform, meaning whenever you practice, whenever you create any configuration, for certain things there is no TR number. For example, whenever you create a number range, you don't get any TR number. When you put number range, when you click on save, it says data saved, but it will not generate any TR number. The settings that you will be creating where there is no TR number is nothing but open client activity. These open client activities you need to do, your number range, your exchange rate, all these kind of thing. There is a list which you will be understanding once we are on the regular session. These activities you will have to perform. You will have to perform the legacy data upload. How you are going to collect the legacy data from the client, meaning you need to understand data templates. When we are talking about data template related to master data templates related to transaction, how you are going to collect the master data, how you are going to collect the transaction data from the client. And here you need to understand something called trial balance. Here you need to understand something called trial balance. What is the trial balance? How do you receive the trial balance, and how do we upload the trial balance into SAP? What is the importance of trial balance? Why the TB is important for a FICO consultant? Because without a trial balance, there is no SAP FICO implementation project. You cannot say that I do not know trial balance, I have not seen trial balance when you say that you are a FICO consultant. Okay, make sure you are clear with what is trial balance in general and how trial balance is collected from the client, how you will understand the trial balance, how you will load a trial balance into SAP. Every time we would have talked about something called cutover activity, legacy data upload, opening balance upload. All these activities, legacy data, trial balance, cutover, everything is related to TB only. And once you get this information, how do you split a trial balance into multiple parts to upload it into SAP? Straightforward, you cannot upload. You need to again have basic accounting understanding like balance sheet account, P&L account, general ledger account, sub ledger account, customer balance, vendor balance, open item balances, non-open item balances. All these kind of things you need to understand, and you need to make sure how each of the balances are uploaded into SAP. These points will make sure that you are working in such a way that the other person is convinced, okay, this person is aware of what activities are performed by a FICO consultant, in what sequence, at what stage. And when you're talking, when you're explaining to the other person, make sure the other person is convinced with what you're talking. And that is very important. Otherwise, you will straight away represent that you have not worked on any project, because even though you're representing that you have experience on SAP FICO, the way you're talking, the way you're representing is really revealing the fact that you have no experience practically. Please make sure this opinion, this impression you will not get from anybody, because this is all because of what we are talking, how we are talking. If you are able to control, if you are able to understand what to talk, how to talk, automatically whosoever you interact with, they will have a good opinion, positive opinion on you. Okay, once the trial balance everything is completed, you need to understand that you need to know how to download TB from SAP. You should know how to see a trial balance, how to upload the trial balance, and how to download the trial balance from SAP. And once you download the trial balance from SAP, make sure you do a TB reconciliation. Make sure you do a TB reconciliation, meaning whatever the trial balance which is received by your client, whatever the trial balance which is uploaded by you, and whatever the trial balance which is downloaded by you should be reconciled with the base trial balance provided by the client. Meaning, if your client had given 500 GL account, and at each GL account level, whatever the balance that they said, same GL account should have same balance from SAP. And you need to make sure before you give the trial balance to the client, you will download it, you will reconcile it, make sure everything is uploaded correct, and then you will send the trial balance to the client for the confirmation. Meaning, you need to get a TB sign off. You need to get TB sign off, meaning your trial balance must be signed off. When you receive the TB sign off, when you receive the trial balance sign off, that is where you're ready to go live for the project. Unless and until you get the TB sign off, no SAP FICO project will go live. So once you receive the TB sign off, you will go live with the project. When you are going live with the project, what is going to happen? On the go live date, everybody will gather. You will post one first accounting document related to sale, because every client will post the first accounting entry related to sale, because as a sentiment, sale is going to give you the revenue for company. On go live date, your client will be recording first billing document or first sales transaction, and after that you will have the team lunch or gathering and all. From next day onwards, your client, your users will start using SAP system live in production. Now the moment your client is starting to use SAP system, after go live, TB sign off followed by go live, and after go live you will have something called hypercare support. You will be working on something called hypercare support. Once hypercare support is done, you are going to have production support. Hypercare support is maybe for 1 month or 3 months. This is probably 1 to 3 months, either based on first month close or based on the first quarter close. They say that hypercare support may be for 1 month or maybe for 3 months, and after that you will be moving on to production support. That is where you call it as AMC support. Okay, that's where you call it as AMC support or production support. This is ongoing activity. This is what something which happens in any project, and the same activities what I discussed is only at very high level. Bits and pieces or the points, bullet points, important points, whatever you need to remember at the terminology level, I have listed in a shortcut ways. Meaning these points you should have in your mind as a FICO consultant. This is how, this is what you are going to work if you are in a implementation project. Now we are all aware that anybody who is getting into the market, anybody who is trying to attend the interview will have to put at least one implementation project. When you say that you have not worked on any implementation project, getting your profile, getting your resume shortlisted, getting your interview scheduled is very difficult, as everyone, whoever is giving you a call, especially the HR, they will ask, do you have any end-to-end project implementation? We all will tell yes, but we have to make sure you are having a thorough understanding of what happens in end-to-end implementation project with respect to a FICO consultant. Don't try to understand what is happening in implementation project. For that you have your project manager to take care. For that you have your project lead to take care. For that you have your PMO to take care. For that you have the different module consultants to take care. But as a FICO consultant, you try to limit, you try to restrict at the beginning to understand what is happening with respect to FICO. As a FICO consultant, what will be your activity? Because tomorrow when you're answering these questions to anybody, make sure you're representing FICO activity, not the other activity. Make sure you're representing, you're explaining the FICO related activities, not the other activities. Most of the times, whatever we tell may not be related to FICO, may be related to some other module, some other responsible person activity. That is where the people will get confused that why you did this, how come you did this within this level of experience. Reason, we do not know what exactly you will be working on if you are working as a FICO consultant. Make sure you have a clarity on your responsibilities. Accordingly, you need to talk whosoever you are interacting with. Only then you will sound confident, you will sound practical and then realistic. And this is very much important, very much needed before you understand anything related to FICO. It is not supposed to be that straight away you start understanding a company code, chart of account and all. That way it is not going to give us a clear practical understanding which a FICO consultant should know. Right, so this is the basic point which is related to a project activity that you will be working as a FICO consultant if you are in an implementation project. In the next session, we will be talking about the other activities. In case if you are in a rollout project, what you are going to do. If you are in a support project, what you are going to do, how you are going to handle the tickets and all, I'll explain in the next session so that you will have a thorough understanding what is going to happen. Then we will be discussing on all the questions, confusions, doubts, whatever you have on FICO. I will be clarifying once we are done with the remaining rollout project, support project, what we will do. Then I will clarify whatever the questions, confusions that you have, and you can take a call, you can take a decision if you are able to understand what I'm explaining, what I'm talking. And if you feel that yes, something is relevant, something is related to what I'm looking for, then you can take a call to proceed further. Otherwise, it is your decision either to continue or to leave. As I mentioned, the regular classes we will be starting from 15th February. From 15th February, we will be starting the regular classes. In the regular classes, we will be discussing each and every point in detail, in depth. Every point I will elaborate in detail, in depth. The way you work as a FICO consultant in any project, in the exact way I will explain you to make sure that you will have a feel that yes, you are working in a project. Okay, so any questions on this we will be discussing. Maybe in the upcoming sessions we will have at least 2 days session exclusively to answer, to clarify all the confusions whatever you have with respect to FICO, whatever I have discussed so far. Any queries, questions, whatever you get regarding my training and all, you can put forward to me. I'll answer all your questions in the upcoming sessions. Okay, fine then. So we will connect. I'll confirm regarding the tomorrow's session being Sunday. If I get time, I'll take the session tomorrow. If not, we will be connecting on Monday night at the same time. Good night.
Ajay, one doubt, Ajay, just one doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suppose, for example, a person with the 4 years or 5 years of experience, they directly selected into the implementation project. Will they do all these activities, or will they restrict it to particular configuration or TR movement, or like
No,
particular
no
activities?
consultant will do all the activities. In any project, any FICO consultant will do limited activities only. Based on your number of years of experience, you have to pick, okay, as a 3 year experienced consultant, as a 4 year experienced consultant, as a 5, 6 year of experienced consultant. These are the activities that I will do in a project if I'm really working as a consultant. Tomorrow, when you explain to any person, or tomorrow when you put these points in your resume, accordingly you need to put. Normally, what we will do, we will end up putting everything in the project that you only did everything for FICO. These kind of mistakes we are not supposed to make. That is where people will easily catch that. No, in reality, no consultant will do, no consultant will work on all these activities. How come you did it? And for these kind of questions, usually we will not have any answer which will convince the other person. Reason, first of all, we have no clarity what exactly is performed by a FICO consultant if you are working in an implementation project.
Okay. If FICO
Okay,
consultant did the unit testing, who will do the UAT? Separate testing team will be there in SAP, or a different
it depends on the
consultants?
company. In some
Okay.
companies, FICO consultant will do it. In some companies, for testing, there is a different team.
Okay.
Okay. So these points I'll be explaining in detail in the regular sessions. So in case if you have a separate team for UAT, what is your contribution, what is your role, how you are going to coordinate with them. If there is no separate team and if you are only the responsible for UAT, how you are going to conduct a UAT session, what is going to happen, what is your attendance sheet, everything I am going to explain practically in our regular session. This is only to give you an overview what is going to happen or what you will be doing, what you are supposed to know as a FICO consultant.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Fine then. So we will connect. We'll continue in the tomorrow's session, if possible. If not, Monday morning. And then before I start the regular sessions, I'll make sure any question that you have, any confusion, doubt that you have, I will clarify each and every one's question. Only after that, I'll start regular classes. Okay. Good night.
Hello, Ajay. Tomorrow morning session also there?